5, 4, 3, 2.
What's up, everyone? This is Grayson Allard coming at you with our presentation on skills versus abilities. Joining me, we have
Zach Short, Dean Allen Wood,
Cotton Whitley,
and Zach Lichty. Alright, I'll be defining the topic for you guys of skills and abilities. So a skill is something you're not born with, but it's a learned behavior, such as bowling, shooting a basketball, kicking a soccer ball, or throwing a javelin. Abilities is usually something you're born with or genetically coded with. An example of this is height, wingspan, percentage of fast twitch and slow twitch muscles, or VO2 max. So the question is, which one benefits performance the most? Abilities give people a head start and most likely a higher ceiling than those who aren't naturally gifted. But athletes will likely lean towards a sport that they have some natural talent with as well, so they can get a head start. It is easy to determine who has natural ability in novice athletes, but almost all elite athletes have some natural ability. Relentlessly working on skills in situations like this creates the difference between being good and being great.
Alright, so the connection to motor learning is that motor learning is when complex processes in the brain occur in response to practice or experience of a certain skill, resulting in changes in the central nervous system that allow for production of new motor skills. Natural abilities can affect this in many ways. It gives individuals an edge in their sport, which, like Dean was talking about, would drive people to play certain sports, or it may lower the need for practice of a certain skill. Natural ability can only take individuals so far, though, but paired with the skill development, it helps individuals reach their greatest potential.
two ways in which genetics influence an athlete's natural abilities is phenotype and heritability. One's phenotype are characteristics based on how the environment influences our genotype. Elite athletes' phenotypes results from having an optimal training environment combining with their natural abilities. Heritability is defined as the degree of variation in a phenotypic trait. Two traits that are heritable are height and body type, which can both influence an athlete's early success in a particular sport. East African distance runners and their ectomorphic body type and high VO2 max are a good example of athletes whose genetics benefit them in a particular sport, as they are seen as naturally gifted runners that are distinguished in the distance running community. Through practice in the environment, an athlete can develop their natural abilities and learn skills that help them achieve a higher level of performance. Two ways in which practice can help develop an athlete's skill is the 10-year rule and the power of law practice. The 10-year rule is defined as quantity and quality of training over 10 years that separates the athlete from the novices. Power of law practice is defined as the rate of improvement due to training, which is logarithmic. At a young age, athletes can distinguish themselves through an optimal practice environment. This is through access to trainers, advanced leagues that play in the off-season, knowledgeable coaches, and a lot of support. Training in an optimal environment with natural abilities can help lead to elite performances in athletes.
Okay, so to connect this to some literature, the greatest performances can be attributed to more favorable genotypes. So being exposed to very good and specialized forms of training help to produce elite athletes, but they also need to have some genotype that will work well when combined with their skills. Like I was saying, there are many different genes, and so you can use those pros and cons depending on the sport and position in that sport to mold your skills into becoming an elite athlete. A great example of this is horse jockeys. They have a very specific genotype, so they'd have less chance of being good at basketball. But as a horse jockey, since they are naturally short, they're able to perform at a very high level.
Some other literature that we found talked about expert athletes having more practice than non-expert athletes. And this kind of goes back to what Grayson was talking about with the 10-year rule. The more reps you have, the better you will probably be at your sport. Without high quantity and quality of reps, it's hard for athletes to achieve high-level athletic performance. Athletes can have rare, spontaneous, and specific abilities, but early experiences, opportunities, trainings, habit, preferences are the biggest determinants when it comes to how elite you become at your sport. So these are two pictures of two different sports. The one on the left is
the medalist at the 2016 Rio Olympics in the shot put. The guy on the the guy on the left is Joe Kovacs. He got silver, and he's 5'10", 295, while the gold medalist in the middle is Ryan Krauser, and he's 6'8", 330. They both threw very similar distance, around 72, 71 feet, and they're both performing very high in their sport. And it just goes to show that different genotypes can perform at the highest level in different sports, or in the same sport. On the picture on the right, there's Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. Both have different genotypes, with Kevin Durant being 7 foot and Steph Curry being 6'3". Steph Curry is a good shooter and dribbler and has different strengths than Kevin Durant, while Kevin Durant is also a good shooter, but he can get in the paint and take some contact, unlike Steph Curry.
A good example of someone who is not necessarily genetically gifted, but found a way to be very successful on high level is Tom Brady. As this video shows, it is his 40-yard dash in the NFL Combine, and it's very clear that he was not athletically gifted, but yet he was able to become one of the most winningest NFL players ever.
All right. In conclusion, our group came to the thought that natural ability is what you need in order to get to the highest platform of a sport. Skill development will help you get to that sport, but you can only reach so far and without natural ability. If you look at the people in the professional football league or any professional sport, they have the natural ability that is required of them to play at that level. The skill development then builds upon that. So skill development can only get you so far, while natural ability takes you the rest of the way. Thank you for watching our presentation. Are there any questions?